President Trump is allowing Russian President Vladimir Putin onto a U.S. airbase in Alaska for today's summit in Ukraine, or on Ukraine, rather. In the past, they've only met abroad, and for good reason. The location of these meetings has a lot of significance. CBS Evening News co-anchor John Dickerson has more on that part of the story. John, good morning.
Good morning, Tony. You're right. Location does matter. Before it was the far edge of America, Alaska was Russia. In 1867, that changed. Russia, drained by war and in need of cash, sold the territory to the United States for $7.2 million. That's about 2 cents an acre.
In parts of Alaska, Russian Orthodox churches still stand, their onion domes a reminder of that earlier reach. That might sound like ancient history in the light of the events bringing leaders of those countries to Anchorage, except that Vladimir Putin justifies his invasion of Ukraine by citing the history of the 9th century. The war that bled Russia, leading to the 19th century sale, took place on the Crimean Peninsula, the location of Putin's 2014 start of this war. Diplomacy usually unfolds in the courtyards of capitals, under chandeliers where the marble floors are polished by centuries of careful footwork. In Alaska, the marble is still in the ground, jagged and unworked, like the present diplomacy. Hard-edged, slogging work, little room for ceremony. The chosen venue keeps up the tension. A meeting meant to project cordiality is being held at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, whose fighter squadrons intercept Russian aircraft that regularly test U.S. airspace. For decades, Alaska was derided as Seward's Folly, a barren expanse bought on a whim. Then came the gold, the oil, and the strategic advantage. An unexpected payoff that fuels the hope, however slim, behind today's meeting, that geography might be destiny, and that a gamble against all expectations can yield something that looks like wisdom in hindsight.
John, that's a really interesting piece there, and it raises the question of how this summit will, if in any way, be different from past summits.
Well, there's sort of 3 stages of U.S.-Russia summitry. There's the Cold War, right after the Second World War, big staged, choreographed events. Then after the fall of the Soviet Union, they were sort of chummy. Clinton and Yeltsin met 18 times. They were sort of two countries cooperating. Then Putin comes in and it gets scratchier. And that's the era we're in now. But if this isn't like the Cold War, where 2 countries were having an ideological fight for the entire planet, there is a way in which the narrative shaping of this event, setting aside from what actually happens about the fate of Ukraine, the way in which both men are trying to shape a story is actually like those summits from the Cold War period, where what was done was important, but also the messaging was important. So that long history is now on the table here today.
Really interesting stuff, John. I'm glad you're there to bring it to us. Thank you very much. And a reminder, John and Margaret Brennan will lead CBS News' coverage of President Trump's summit with Putin later today here on CBS and streaming on CBS News 24/7.